Good morning, everybody. You're tuned to Computers 2K Now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next couple of hours, along with Gal.
Good morning.
Good morning. Spence is still up north on the way back home. Nick is nowhere to be found. I don't know. He must be doing something. Our number is 919-518-9773, Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And today's show is made possible by Vmix Software, DudeInIT.com, and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. So, who's your cell phone provider?
Google Voice.
I mean, the actual phone.
T-Mobile.
Are you worried about what happened this week?
Yes, I got a very disturbing SMS saying, you know what, let me read it out.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So the SMS read, let's open that. T-Mobile, where are you? Yeah. So it's on the same day. So 12/29, I got the usual text, your T-Mobile bill is now available.
Yeah.
And then at 3:25 in the afternoon, I get the following. T-Mobile has determined that unauthorized access to some of your personal data has occurred. We have no evidence that your debit or credit card information was compromised. We take the protection of our customers seriously. We are taking actions to protect your T-Mobile account, and we recommend that you take action to protect your credit. Read more here. And then there's a list to some short URL that I've never clicked, actually, because at first I thought, what's going on? And you know me, I don't listen to the news or anything. So started reading up, and I read about the breach. And the most interesting part of the breach was that most of the information that has been exposed is about past users. So users who are no longer active users of T-Mobile. Out of the active users, there was about, I think they talked about 7 million, but about 40 or 35, like the total they're talking about is 40 plus million records. And those 40 plus million records mostly are about past customers, and those contain the most hurtful information, social security numbers, identities and addresses, and I think maybe even passwords. And for the past users, that is where some of the credit card information was. So it's weird, right? It's like probably the breach has to do with some old database or an older version of the database, but still it means, and from the little bit that I've read, the talk is, why is a company like that still holding information like that so many years past, right? Valid question. I have no problem with the question itself, right? It's a valid question. I didn't see any answers. So I don't know if it's intentional, if it's neglect, if it can be anything. I'm no expert, but yeah, definitely a mess.
It is a mess.
Another
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
I mean, Kathy was reading stuff and she said, you need to change your PIN. I don't know my
So
PIN.
that's
I
the
don't know
one
my
thing. I
PIN.
mean, on instinct, that's the one.
Yeah.
There's a breach. Okay, let me go in. I'll just change the password and PIN.
I never logged in, so I have no
I
idea.
couldn't. I
Oh.
was able to log in, but I couldn't make the change. The website was probably breaking because of.
Too much usage.
I'm guessing. Yeah, I'm going to try again, but I'm not too worried. Right? Every place has a different set of credentials, a different
Yeah.
set of.
Yeah.
So I'm not too worried, but it's just it's an annoyance. And one good thing for me, my T-Mobile number, right, is not tied to my identity in most locations. So I'm not worried on that aspect as well. But again, if something like this would happen to Google, right, to a Gmail account or
Jeez.
with, right, my life will be.
It's not just yours.
Very complicated.
Yeah.
At the least, right? So yeah, I'm sure. But I'm saying, like, I'm thankful that this happened to T-Mobile, which I'm guessing most of our listeners, if they're comparing T-Mobile to Google, right, that they are a lot trusting in a system like T-Mobile than a Google one, which is a free one, to T-Mobile, which is a paid one, right? There's this instinct of, oh, this is a big enterprise that I pay a fee to be a part of, then I trust them more.
Right.
The real problem is the reason I trust Google more, I don't trust them exclusively, but I trust them more in this situation is because Google is a product of this mad circumstances that make these breaches so lucrative, right?
Right.
And so when they build their products, they are building that with that in mind. While T-Mobile is a business that started in parallel to this without really understanding the exposure. There is this, okay, I need to stay safe. I need to keep my record safe and all that. But they are not an internet product. They are the internet is a byproduct in their scheme, right? If you look at their history, they weren't focused on data, right? Until they were forced to provide data. And so those websites, those self-service websites, they came very late into the game. All their exposure to the internet has come late to the game. So, and I'm guessing they are probably better positioned than AT&T because T-Mobile came into the game after AT&T was in the game, for example, right? So there's this who is better situated to protect themselves from this situation. That's a long way of saying, for me specifically, I'm annoyed, but not a big deal. For some T-Mobile users, especially those who that phone number is tied to their identity, let's say on services like Venmo, PayPal, Facebook, Google, right? They should sweat and they should make adjustments so
to minimize the
risk. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I'm wondering if the fact that you got a text and I didn't.
Yeah, I doubt you're such a new customer.
Yeah, right.
And you've never worked with them before, that you're probably not exposed at all.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Now, I'm also subscribed to, because my emails are behind my domain, I've also subscribed to Have I Been Pawned with domain alerts, right? And I haven't gotten any notification about any of the emails being breached. So I'm not too concerned about that as well.
No, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Um, let's see what we have here. Yeah, I know you're into what did you do? What did you finally do with the video card? Remember
I
you
haven't sold it yet. Shai just left the home,
Mhm.
so I'm planning on putting that on eBay, selling the 180p.
This article goes AMD officially unveiled the Radeon RX 6600 XT in
Yeah,
late July, but the cards have officially launched last week. Aimed at
yeah,
10
that's right.
8 huh?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I've been following that. Yeah.
In a review at Hot Hardware, PowerColor is offering both a high-end Radeon RX 6600 XT Red Devil and its somewhat more mainstream fighter branded counterpart, for example. Whereas AMD's reference Radeon RX 6600 XT offers a game clock up to 2359 megahertz, which puts it at 23 gig. Does that make sense? Or is it
Uh,
2.3 gig? No,
yeah,
it's
I wouldn't know.
and a boost clock of 2589 megahertz. The power color Red Devils peaks at 2428 megahertz game and 2607 megahertz boost. Those higher GPU clocks result in higher compute performance and fill rate, but the memory configuration and frequency are the same. So, in memory bandwidth constrained situations, performance won't be all that much different. Performance wise, with most game titles that use traditional rasterization, the Radeon RX 6600 XT is clearly faster than the GeForce RTX 3060 and previous gen cards like the RX 5700. However, when you factor ray tracing into the equation, NVIDIA has a distinct and significant advantage still. The Radeon 6600 XT Fighter should sell for at or close to its $379 MSRP. PowerColor says that they should be readily available for gamers to purchase. It was last Friday. So that's nice. I mean, if they are out there, that means that things are opening up kind of as far as video card. For a long time, it was hard to even get one. And I don't know if this is like
So
top of the line.
they're not opening up.
So,
What all of these sites, the review sites, are saying, they're saying this is up to par to the NVIDIA offering.
huh.
The price range of these two cards are approximately the same,
Mm-hmm.
but nobody can get it at
Okay.
MSRP, right? Remember, MSRP used to be, right, the
The
higher,
higher, yeah, the
right, the
highest.
higher number about getting hardware. And now we're in a world where MSRP probably means a third or between a third and a half of the actual price,
Just like
right?
real estate.
In certain areas,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
In areas where Apple is going to uh, put a stake in the ground, yeah.
yeah. It's it's interesting. So last week, I got a call from a friend of mine that owns a garage. Says one of the computers in the back in the shop itself is misbehaving.
Okay.
So I went there and took a look. I mean, it's up, it's running. So he came out and he said, "Let me show you." So you click on the start button, nothing happens. You right click on the start button, the menu comes up. You click settings, nothing happens. A lot of the things just did not happen. Like the computer doesn't even uh, respond, like you didn't do anything. Um, I went to check on antivirus. I had McAfee. So I brought it up, and McAfee said, "Your subscription ended in something like April 2018." So I said, "Come on, guys. I mean, you're running without a virus scanner, and you're going to all kind of different places." Yeah. So I uninstalled. I figured out a way to get into the control panel, and it looked like it was control panel of Windows 7, but it was Windows 10. It was Windows 10 Home. But I uninstalled McAfee. Defender would not come up. So I looked a little bit more, and I can't figure out what's going on. So I said I need to take that home with me and work on it. But then I asked him, and I said, "Oh, and his oh, that's right. His main reason for getting in touch with me is he said, yesterday I set up Chrome with the bookmark bar to every place that the guys need to go to and all that. And this morning when we started it, again, it says that it's not the default one. And there was none of that bookmark bar was there. It was there, but there was nothing in it. So I thought maybe an update or something. But then I said, okay, now what else is on this computer that I have if I have to reformat and I mean reinstall Windows? What else is on it that I need to keep? He said nothing. All it is being used for the internet. So the only application that we use is Google Chrome. I said, oh well, then no big deal. I wish you told me that to begin with. I wouldn't spend all this 2 hours sitting here trying this and that. So I brought it home and just tried to get into safe mode, no, into repair mode in Windows 10, and it just wouldn't go in. So I did that thing with the start and stop, start and stop, start and stop, and it went in, and it says repairing, and it took I don't know probably about 40 minutes, and it was done. Same problem. There's no start button, doesn't bring up anything, and everything was messed up. So I said, all right, never mind. I'll just restore. So I did it again, and I was trying to get to the point where it says repair, advance, and all that, and I didn't see that where you can restore to system to default to factory default. I didn't see that menu. There's a menu in
Yeah,
uh
but you need to. I think you actually need to boot into the OS to see that, like a reset, a
well, I
factory
did a
reset.
reset. I did. You mean restore to previous? I went to
No,
the
no, no, no,
early.
no. Restore to previous shows up in the advanced menus,
Oh,
but if you just click on the start on Windows 10 right now and you do you just type the word reset, there is
oh,
an option called
okay.
reset this PC, but that's from a booted system. You couldn't get to a booted system.
I no, I could get to a booted system. It was fine.
Oh, okay.
But then I did the stop start, and I got that menu finally.
Yeah.
And I said, yep, go ahead and reset the factory
Yeah.
defaults.
Okay.
And it did it, and everything was fine. I put,
Yeah. Well, factory default is basically fresh
yeah,
Windows
right.
operating system.
That's
Yeah.
it. And I installed, no, I didn't install anything. I said, let's do the update. It did two updates, but then it got to, and I don't keep up with the numbers, 20H or 8 something,
Yeah. 20.
something
What
like
we're
that.
running now, I think 20H4 or
Yeah,
20H1 or
that's what
something.
it, that's what, yeah.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't do it. It said failed, 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 restart, failed, failed, failed. I said, okay, never mind. So I installed Chrome, and Chrome snuck McAfee on me.
Ah.
So I just,
What?
yeah, yeah.
Chrome comes bundled with
I'm sorry, I'm
McAfee?
sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Not Chrome. Adobe Acrobat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because they need to read
Ah.
PDFs, and I said, okay, yeah, let's put it. Yeah, so it's fine. I just uninstalled it. Everything was fine, and put Chrome on it, configure it, everything. Turn it off, turn it on, turn it off, turn it on. Everything is working. So I tried to do the update one more time. Now it went probably about half an hour. It was preparing, and it went up to about 60 some percent and failed. So I said, well, that's no big deal. I mean, again, they're using it for Chrome. It's an older computer. Uh, I'm not gonna try and figure out what's wrong with it. Obviously, it's a fresh install of Windows, so to speak. And there is something, but Defender is working, and everything is working. And I took it back Tuesday. Did not hear a word. I said, if you see anything out of the ordinary, give me a call. Did not hear anything. So apparently it's fine. Oh, Nick is saying his internet down this morning. Hopefully it'll be back soon.
Okay.
Spectrum says 10:15 restoration. Interesting. Hmm.
Well, at least we have something to talk about the next show, if not this one.
So yeah, that was my brush with corrupted Windows 10. And I've never seen this. You got into the control panel, and one of the options, what it was, like the fourth options in the control panel in brackets, it says Windows 7. Like this one is for Windows 7. It's like it was an upgrade. But things looked like a lot of things look like Windows 7. And I never encountered something like this, but I never really, I don't think I ever worked with Windows Home.
I don't think it has anything to do with that.
I don't know.
Probably some third-party software, but after the blank
No,
reset,
after the restoration, it was the same thing.
interesting.
It was like on the first row when you look at small icons. Anyway, I
Okay.
was glad it was okay. So you saying that if you need to reset, you can just from the OS type
Yeah.
reset, and it will come up and give you
Yeah,
choices how to.
it's part of the system settings. So
Okay.
you also
Yeah.
find it. But yeah, reset this PC is part of recovery. And it says if your PC isn't running well, resetting might help. This lets you choose to keep your personal files or remove them
Right.
and then reinstalls Windows.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, I remember Windows XP time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would I would have, I would set up a dual boot system, right? With that's when I discovered WinPE. You know, WinPE. It's like the pre-installation environment. It was the trick that allowed creating live CDs based on that you can run on Windows, like there were live CDs for Linux, for
Right.
recovery operating systems and stuff like that. So a way of running a secondary, not full, but only for recovery. It still exists today. It's just usually a pain to set up, and the OS does a good job today helping you recover from stuff. So with Windows XP and later with Windows 7, I would create a dual boot system always, preserving something like a few 20 gigabytes, 40 gigabytes for this recovery system. And later you started seeing, I would do it manually, but later you started seeing, laptop manufacturers baking that into their process. You'll get an option to recover the system, right? When you boot, and that would be something like that. That's where I got the idea. It's like forums that played with that, but later we saw it as part of the systems, and today it's integral part of any Windows system you install. You have a built-in reset into it. If you think about your cell phone or tablet, they have that built-in since the beginning. But there it's really easy because there is a flash section of system storage that cannot change, and so resetting to that is easy, right? Here they figured out a way of, okay, we can reset it in a different way. We'll reinstall the stuff. We'll just need to keep the installation media hanging around, and that's basically what reset is. It's the installation media, or it makes sure it downloads it before it reboots.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And that's not something you can do with 10?
You can. Why not?
Oh,
But
okay.
you don't need to.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, because you have it built in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. There was one piece of information. I don't know why I didn't print it. I probably just emailed it to Hannah and said, you need to see it. Apple upgraded to 14 point something iOS. And a lot of people with iPhones say that they get a no service. It's like you cannot connect to any cell. You can do
Ouch.
Wi-Fi, but you cannot connect. So they said that the thing to do at this point is to not upgrade. But the article it's a double-edged sword because that update also included a fix for a 0-day bug. I mean, these are things that we never used to hear about Apple 0-day. So, but if you have an iPhone and it went all the way from iPhone 6 to 12, not everybody. They don't know why it's doing it. They don't know what's going on, but Apple acknowledged, and hopefully it'll fix. But it's safe. In the meantime, just don't upgrade if you didn't already, if it didn't happen automatically already.
Yeah. I mean, you say we didn't hear about stuff like that in Apple.
Right.
I don't think that's true. I think we'll if we do a search, you'll see that the track record is exactly as any other big company.
Well, I'm talking about in the 90s and early 2000s. I mean, it was, oh, yeah, get an Apple, you will not get any viruses. You
Yeah,
you don't
that's
need.
because nobody used it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nobody used it, so you don't get
Yeah.
anybody targeting
Right.
attacks on it,
Yep.
right? And then it becomes popular, and then it becomes the main vector of attack. Because
Mhm.
look, Apple makes it very easy to be a vector of attack because their platform is supposedly very uniform, right?
Right.
There is this one OS that can run on these devices, and they push really hard on updates, which is okay. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that's reality, right? And so for an attacker, as long as they are up to speed on what vulnerabilities are available, and there's always a vulnerability, right? The fact that all of the endpoints are exactly the same for the attacker and there's nothing that the end user can do unless Apple fixes it,
Mhm.
that's the best thing in the world. So yeah, they are supposed to be this um, knowing all, controlling all aspects, but that means they control all the flaws as well, right? That they distribute all the
Mhm.
flaws exactly at the same time. So if you compare it to a Windows distribution, right? Windows, Microsoft, they have zero idea what type of hardware it's going to hit. They have zero idea what state of system it's going to hit. And they try the best. And there's a lot of issues because they are the most popular system out there.
Mhm.
If this was, if the most popular system was Debian, right? Debian Linux,
Then there
then
would
it would
be.
have been Debian
Yep.
that we would hear a lot of.
Correct.
So yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
Yep.
It's all about
Who's a
who
better
is the
target?
widest
Yeah.
and easiest to attack,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Who's the biggest target? Back in the day, I don't know if you remember, but I'm talking early 2000s,
Mhm.
early 2000s. No, probably close to mid 2000s. Uh, so 2010, like something like that, mid 2000. I'm saying about 10 years
Yeah.
ago. Yeah. Um, so up until not too recently, right? You had Internet Explorer, you had Mozilla, and after a while, those two were all dinosaurs, no real advancement in development, and then Chrome comes in.
Mhm.
And Chrome comes in just as mostly as a very well thought of exercise in let's try something new in the approach because websites are starting to be applications and we need a better way of working with these web applications, right? Google is trying to sell to the world web is an application space and you no longer need to install anything on your computer other than the browser, right?
Mhm.
This is before Chrome books. We're talking just Chrome. It's introduced. And one of the interesting things about Chrome is compared to the other popular browsers, which were Internet Explorer, Firefox, and Safari, um, uh, Chrome was practically unhackable because even if a hacker got control of a web session like in other browsers, it had zero access to the system because it ran in a sandbox. And so suddenly the browsers, especially with the popularity of Chrome growing, suddenly the browsers weren't that sure thought attack vector for web attacks. So all focus was shifted to the single piece of software that ran on all of the platforms and was never designed to be secure. And there were two: Flash and PDFs. Specifically
Mhm.
Adobe Acrobat readers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because both of them could run code from the web. Flash was completely right web based, and PDFs had internally the ability to render JavaScript in order to run some automation, but with zero security. And suddenly PDFs became the big bad. So it's always about who's the biggest vector, because PDFs would run on Apple, would run on Linux, would run on Windows, would run on mobile phones, right? But the software to read them was trash when it came to security. It was good at rendering on the screen, but nothing else, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and 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 both of these were Adobe, right? Flash was Adobe, and PDF was Adobe.
Right.
So the vulnerabilities, they were similar because it shared a lot of code on the base. So this was like, so we're seeing it now with iPhones, right? iPhones are the most ubiquitous, similar, widest platform that is homogeneous, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same hardware manufacturer, it's the same problems, and probably these zero-day vulnerabilities, some of them are probably dating to an iPhone 3, right, when they are discovered. So yeah, you get and for an attacker, the opportunity, if they find something, right, is huge. So
Yeah.
so we're only hearing about things that bug people, but think about the amount of security that we're not hearing about, because nobody has really figured out in the wild what is being used, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
how do we know that T-Mobile breach like that, right, didn't start with somebody making, exploiting some exploit, some open vulnerability on a phone, right? We don't know. We all of these platforms, you always need to stay vigilant and all that, but you also need to understand there is no, if you trust this, nothing will happen to you, right? That doesn't exist.
No.
Yeah. So, and what
Yeah.
I'm saying, the long story short, right, is Apple is exactly the same like any other company. There is no difference.
I know, but
There is no difference.
they got their users to believe that everything is fine. You don't need to
Yeah.
worry.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never trust anybody who tells you everything is fine. It doesn't matter if it's the government. It doesn't matter if it's a big company. It doesn't matter if it's a friend, right? If
That's
somebody tells
correct.
you
Yeah, there's
everything
always
is fine,
something.
that part, that specific sentence, don't believe it. I mean, because sometimes it's a lie, and sometimes it's just somebody trying to reassure a situation they have zero control over, right? So,
Yeah. Listen to this now. Talking about browsers. Microsoft's upcoming release of Windows 11 will make it even harder to switch default browsers and ignore browser defaults in new areas of the operating system. While Microsoft is making many positive changes to the Windows 11 UI, the default apps experience is a step back, and browser competitors like Mozilla, Opera, and Vivaldi are concerned. In Windows 11, Microsoft has changed the way you set default apps. Like Windows 10, there is a prompt that appears when you install a new browser and open a web link for the first time. It's the only opportunity to easily switch browsers, though. Unless you tick Always Use This App, the default will never be changed. It's incredibly easy to forget to toggle the Always Use This App.
so
That
they're
option.
saying that the second time you launch a
It will not
URL,
say
it'll go
anything.
to the default and it won't ask.
Right.
Yeah, sounds like this will change until
Yeah.
when Windows 11 becomes widespread.
It says, and simply launch the browser you want from this prompt and never see this default choice again when you click web link. If you do forget to set your default browser at first launch, The experience for switching default is now very confusing compared to Windows 10. Chrome
Really?
and many other rival browsers will often prompt user to set them as default and will throw Windows user into a default apps part of settings. To enable this, Microsoft has changed the way default apps are assigned in Windows 11, which means you now have to set defaults by file or link type instead of a single switch. In the case of Chrome, that means changing the default file type for HTML, HTML, PDF, SHTML, SVG, WebP, XHT, XHTML, FTP, HTTP, and HTTPS. You just have to change
Yeah.
all these to say, I want this to use Chrome.
Yeah, I see it. So
Firefox statement says, we have been increasingly worried about the trends on Windows since Windows 10. Users have had to take additional and unnecessary steps to set and retain their default browser settings. These barriers are confusing at best and seem designed to undermine a user choice for a non-Microsoft browser. So it's
there's
interesting.
a Microsoft spokesperson respond to The Verge. With Windows 11, we're implementing customer feedback to customize and control defaults
Mhm.
at a more granular level, eliminating app categories and elevating all apps to the forefront of the default experience. So they're saying, okay, you have, we are assuming everybody now is a super user,
Yeah,
right?
techie.
Everybody
Yeah.
knows now how the system. We're sorry, right, that we were patronizing at you and we gave you an interface with only 5 categories, right? We apologize. We hear you, and you can get all of your thousands of options for you because we trust you know what you're doing. It's like, yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Nobody
Exactly.
said get rid of that. If somebody said anything, it probably said make it clear what it's going to change, right? If you want, so if I go and change HTML, right, then I want to understand who else was, if the experience that I know people complained about, right, is okay, I go to a default in Windows 10,
Mhm.
and it gives me an option, the maps, browser, pictures, etc., and it changes that.
Right.
Let me know what is it changing, right? It's changing this list. Then maybe something is missing, and I would want the opportunity to add it. Another option is okay, I know that browsers they use HTML, and I am going to now say when I open the HTML file, open it in a different browser. This is where I want you to tell me, okay, up until now, HTML was assigned to Edge. What else is Edge controlling? Maybe I can change all of that as well. You change that workflow, right, to a more informative one, then you are no longer patronizing. You are providing an easy way, a simple way, category wise. Those who don't want to go into details don't need to, right? And on the other part, you are giving the power users, those who understand what's going on, you're giving them the option of making changes more to their liking,
Right.
right? By the way, one of the fantastic things that I found out, I don't know if it's like in recent Windows 10 versions or not, we're dealing a lot with audio, right, and stuff. You talked about not being able to have Skype,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
Do you
right.
know that we have in Windows 10, we have in the audio mixer, there is granular per application assignment of audio devices from the OS level. So it has nothing to do with the picker you choose
Really?
inside the application. Yeah, I was surprised. Suddenly, voice meter banana is less of a requirement. Maybe we can deal with the OS only, right? So it's interesting, right, that they are usually making these advancements and they're making things easier to control, more accessible, or things that weren't controllable at all before, suddenly they are. So, right? What's the change here? And yeah, this seems sinister. But I guess because you already got a quote from a Microsoft spokesperson about it, there is noise about in the web about this, and this is still just a preview version, right? I'm guessing this will change, and we'll see that interface back.
Hopefully.
Either in the first release or in the first fix for the
Yeah.
release. So, and we have somebody back.
Ugh. Who that?
Hi, my 15 minutes ahead of schedule, according to Spectrum. The internet is back up. So,
Do you know when it went
Yay
out?
to Spectrum.
yeah, let's see. Hold on. Got it in my email.
Did anybody explain what?
4:37 a.m. I got an
Sheesh.
email from Uptime Robot that
Wow.
home was down. I obviously was not up at 4:37. And they said 10:15. Normally, when they give you a time, it's normally hours beforehand, but they said 10:15, and
Oh, that's fine.
10 o'clock, Discord stopped spinning in a circle, and all of a sudden I could see my chats. So I had to listen to vinyl records this morning. It's the only connection I had to anything. It was my only source
Come
of
on, your
entertainment.
cell phone still works.
No, my Wi-Fi was down. With the Wi-Fi doesn't work. What are you going to do? The cell phone just doesn't work. I don't know.
Oh, that doesn't work?
No, couldn't text, couldn't call. I was stranded here on an island with my CRT TV, my record player, my rabbit ears. There's no analog television stations. Did you guys know that? There's nothing to watch.
Okay. How you doing, Nate?
So the
morning.
pandemic finally hit.
Yeah, my pandemic, the internet going out at 4 a.m. on a Sunday
Yeah.
morning.
Well, an apocalypse.
Yeah.
So we were talking. I mean, Gal and me were talking before the show about the one of the things that I found out that you can do is how to change password, Windows 10 password, or Windows password from the command line.
Mhm.
And
That's an old trick.
well, I don't know. I never thought about this. And just, I mean, it's simple. You get into command and you type net user, and it will show you all the users.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
then you can, what, Gal?
No, I said yeah.
Yeah. And then you type net user, and you put the username and the password. And that's it. Now, Gal, you said right. I said, what good does it, what
No, it's.
And you're
I
right.
figured it was there since the beginning of time. It's just I've never needed it. So
yeah. And I was thinking, this is, then I was thinking, okay, but it also allows you to change other people's password, but then you can
only
do that
after you're logged
Yeah,
in,
correct.
or if you're an admin.
Yeah, correct.
Well,
And
that's the one of the old, not old, but one of the tricks for unlocking an account or changing a password
Yeah.
is replacing the, what is it, Gal? You replace the little ease of access button, and it pops up the command line. That's one of the old.
No, so you're talking about something else. Yeah, in Windows, I think even in Windows 7,
Yeah.
you could activate the narrator, and the narrator has a link going to a website which will open a browser. And once you can open a browser, you basically can open also access to the file system.
Yeah.
And then you can execute CMD, for example, and then you can do a bunch of things. I think that has changed. I haven't.
There's another
tried
way
that
to do it where you
recently.
replace the ease of access.
Executable. Yeah.
Yeah, you replace it with the cmd.exe. So when you click it, it opens up command prompt. But you have to, you to do that, you have to boot into like some sort of Linux live CD or something so that you can actually change the file.
That won't work anymore.
No, not with UEFI.
No, even before that. So
or secure boot, whatever it's called.
Not only that, so system executables, they're signed today, and that means if they change, the system alerts you, even if you're not running Windows Defender or anything, right? The system alerts you, this is a system file that has been changed. I am going to override it from the cache or from the store or whatever. So not the Windows store as in the storage, cold storage. So that was solved in Windows 7. So replacing executable of system is harder today. You if you want to do something like that, you need to disable a lot of safeguards for that to work. But getting access to a command line with administrative rights could be possible at times. That also, I think, that no longer is an option. I would be surprised if it is.
It is. I know with Windows 10 it was still possible because I always used that Windows password reset or whatever. It was a Linux boot.
Yeah, but that's something else. That does something completely different. The password resetter. But the password resetter does this.
But you can unlock an account.
Yeah, it overwrites the data store for the basic configuration of the system.
Okay.
And that contains the user. Basically, it's those registry files, right? Yeah. That we have. There's like a huge system file in your user profile.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically an encrypted file containing a lot of details. But if you, even though it's encrypted, it starts with something that needs to load regardless of password or not, right? So there's a way of gaining access to it to write a blank password. And once you write a blank password, then you can boot up with that blank password.
Yeah.
So because the system relies on, so one thing you will be screwed, right? If you lose, for example, is if your file system is encrypted with BitLocker. If your file system is encrypted, then you first need to get access to the file system. Then you'll be able to reset the password.
Now, the truth is that CD, this service, I mean, you download it, it's free, does not work with Windows 10. It will not change it.
You're talking
work
about the old open source one.
Yeah, it will boot and it will go like, yeah, it's doing it, but it will not do it. And what you end up with is the exact same screen that net user shows you in the command line. I said, oh, that's what I used to see with that Linux thing. So yeah, for Windows 10, I had to buy a program, PassQ, which was not expensive at all.
I'm guessing there's still an open source version that does it.
Probably. I mean, I looked and looked and looked. But the trick was to get to that situation without logging in to the computer.
Right.
Because if you lost the password for Windows, it's kind of it's a problem to change it.
Right. That's one of the reasons Microsoft, right, is pushing very hard for you to use a Microsoft account today.
Yeah.
You know, because then you can use their services to reset it.
That's correct. Yeah. But then it's a double-edged sword.
But again, you need to trust them.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, here's something else that involves Apple. Apple has released a new version of iCloud for Windows. Number 12.5. The update adds the ability to access and manage passwords saved in iCloud from a Windows machine, a feature that users have long requested. Apple has been gradually adding more support for iCloud passwords on non Apple platforms with mixed results. The company released a Chrome extension that synced iCloud passwords with Chrome. But like this new iCloud password app, it did the bare minimum and not much else. Still, this addition is welcomed for users who primarily live in the Apple ecosystem and thus use Apple iCloud Password Locker, but who sometimes have to use Windows. For example, some folks use an iPhone or a Mac most of the time, but have a Windows PC that is only used to play games that can't be played on the Mac. So, I mean, it's still kind of. Why are you laughing like
Sorry, the description is like, there are these weird people who have iPhones, but they have also a PC. Talk about patronizing,
Yeah.
right?
Well, yeah, sorry, you're right. Yeah, yeah. But it's nice when things are cross platform. Anyway, any way you look at it. I mean, it's
You guys
I
ever heard of
would-
video games before? I think there's some people that also use the Windows PC for
Yeah.
that, from what I understand. I'm not an
Well,
expert in it, but that's what I believe I know.
Yeah, that's what they said. It's usually because of gaming. It's like
Yeah, I'm not
The
familiar
PC
with those video games, but I know that
the
they do
PC is
exist.
for those toys.
Very interesting. Thank you, Slashdot.
Looks like it comes from Ars Technica, the report.
Like Amnon describing how he uses his cell phone.
oh shush.
950 megahertz cordless phone does not go far enough. That's why you get a cellular phone.
Here's something else about breaches. A well-known threat actor with a long list of previous breaches is selling private data that was allegedly collected from 70 million AT&T customers. The data was analyzed and found to include social security numbers, date of birth, and other private information. The hacker is asking 1 million for the entire database and has provided Restore Privacy with exclusive information for this report. The threat actor goes by the name of Shiny Hunters and was also behind other previous exploits that affected Microsoft, Tokopedia, Pixlr, Mashable, Minted, and more. The hacker posted the leak on an underground hacking forum earlier last week, along with a sample of the data that they analyzed. AT&T has initially denied the breach in a statement to Restore Privacy. The hacker has responded by saying they will keep denying until I leak everything. Based on their investigation last week, the information that appeared in an internet chat room does not appear to have come from our system. That's what AT&T says. When pressed harder and asked specifically if there was no AT&T breach, the company said, based on our investigation, no, we don't believe this was a breach of AT&T system. Giving this information did not come from us. We can't speculate on where it came from or whether it's valid, they added. The hacker says they're willing to reach an agreement with AT&T to remove the data from sale. The possible breach of AT&T follows the T-Mobile hack from earlier last week, which impacted 40 million records. So that's interesting. How it comes, like when it rains, it pours. So here's AT&T, T-Mobile, I wonder when Verizon is gonna, you know.
I received a text
From?
Friday. AT&T free message. Nick, we accidentally overcharged your account last month. Kindly your compensation here. And then a link.
English, yeah.
And now, by the way, so my parents were in town.
Yeah.
Everybody, my sister and both my parents, who were all on the same AT&T plan, all got that text message over probably a 24-hour period. So I don't know if that has anything to do with that breach, but I don't know how they would have known my name. That's the only interesting part. Because if it would have just said, dear AT&T customer,
Yeah.
there's no caller ID on cell phones. Well, I guess there can be, but I don't know.
There is.
But how would they know that from a text message? It's not in a phone book. So
That's
no. Yeah, the phone itself does not identify by name.
So that's why I don't know how they would have gotten my name.
Mm.
But
interesting.
K2HV.Z-.info/
yeah, but then again,
kindly your compensation.
But then again, if you have that phone number next to a name in any other data breach, right? Then that's enough.
True, but it was interesting that it was all four of my, all my sister and both my parents and me. I could see me because I'm sure my number's got to be all over the place.
Yeah, but again, if a database breaches, right? They can. There's enough, and it should be easy enough to cross-reference the number and the supplier. So they know from which number to send because they know which numbers AT&T send. And the breach, right? Let's say Facebook contacts or just a list of contacts, right? From even from LinkedIn, right? Where you might have a name and a phone number. And LinkedIn has been around for the LinkedIn breach is one of the biggest and oldest, right? And so just cross-referencing that they don't really need new data for that. It doesn't need to be complicated, very, very fresh or anything like that. It just needs to send a scary message with a name. That's all it needs.
True.
And today with hacking as a service, right, with the availability of all of these things for most attackers to, they just pay and use it.
Right.
It's ridiculous, the ease to generate something like that.
Well, the worst part is I just clicked on the link and it's not even like it's trying to get me to get a free pair of AirPods, but it doesn't even reference the text message. It just says take a survey. So it's whoever is doing this was a very sloppily done phishing attempt.
Not only that, remember that when you click the link, they might be targeting. So we talked about Apple vulnerabilities, right? So they might be targeting a vulnerability that might be available through a browser.
Yeah.
And so you see some cockamamie website, but you don't know what is actually trying to run in the background.
Oh,
so
yeah,
usually
exactly.
I would say, yeah.
Yeah.
And as we talked about, Apple's users have this false sense of security that no harm can happen to them on the iPhone.
Right.
Right. That it's a safe place to do anything. So yeah, that can be a problem.
So last week we mentioned that Sonos was suing Google for their
multi-room audio patents. Yeah.
So Sonos scored an early victory in its case against Google last Friday when the U.S. International Trade Commission ruled that Google infringed 5 of Sonos smart speaker patents. The ruling is preliminary and subject to a full ITC review, but it could lead to a ban on Google smart speakers. In January 2020, Sonos brought a patent infringement case against Google targeting Google's smart speakers, the Google Home, and later the Nest audio line. Sonos is the originator of internet-connected speakers that easily hook up to streaming services, while Google speakers combine a similar feature set with voice-activated Google Assistant command. To hear Sonos tell the story, Google got a behind-the-scene look at Sonos hardware in 2013 when Google agreed to build Google Play music support for Sonos speakers. Sonos claims that Google used that access to blatantly and knowingly copy Sonos audio features for the Google Home speakers which launched in 2016. So apparently the court, or this is like, I guess it's the first step, agreed with them. We'll see what happens later on. It's going to be interesting.
Indeed.
Huh? A piece of information from 2 weeks ago that I never got to talk about last week. 2 weeks ago, the U.S. Senate approved an amendment proposed by Cuban American Senator Marco Rubio for the administration of President Joe Biden to provide free internet to Cubans on the island. The amendment was passed without a recorded vote, meaning that no one opposed the plan. New Jersey Democrat Senator Bob Menendez, a prominent supporter of the U.S.-Cuba embargo, and Vermont Senator Patrick Leahy, a longtime opponent of the embargo, said they support the Rubio and Scott amendment. So now we're going to provide free internet to Cuba, to people in Cuba.
Thank God I didn't vote for Marco Rubio back in 2016.
You what?
Said, thank God I didn't vote for Marco Rubio back in 2016.
But,
why? I mean, no, never mind.
Well, look at this.
That's a conversation for tomorrow morning at 6 a.m.
Yeah, well, I was going to send it to you, actually.
Please do.
But it's amazing. No one opposed it unless there were no Republicans there. I don't understand this. I really don't understand how the whole Senate would go for it without any opposition.
Now you are understanding the frustration in the Republican Party.
It is absolutely ridiculous. What do you mean free?
Well, then where the hell's my free internet?
Yeah. You know,
Spectrum's over here bending me over a barrel for 300 megabits, and Cubans are going to get free internet. What a bunch of bullshit. This is ridiculous.
I don't know. Think about it. If you're offered no internet at all, right? And you get free internet, but only 100K.
Well, I mean, look.
That's plenty for Amnon. He could do all of his stuff.
I can do all that stuff. Absolutely. Sure.
Amnon's ready to spin up another internet service provider.
This is just ridiculous. I mean, you know.
Yeah, but I can't understand anything from the news article, so I don't know what's true and what's not, and what's the context.
Yeah, I did not go fact checking.
Yeah,
I did not use Snopes.
It sounds ridiculous, but it also there's a lot of information. So what is exactly in the bill?
Okay, so this is why.
What is really free? What it's like.
So the reason is that the Cuban government is currently going through a bit of a rocky time. So they've started limiting and shutting off access to certain websites.
Right.
And that's why they're doing it. But still, that really just does not seem like my taxpayer dollars problems. That sounds like a Cuban problem.
Yeah, and I mean,
So that's
charge
why. It's
for
because
it.
the Cuban government. I mean, why aren't we doing the same thing for North Korea and
Yeah,
China and every
yeah.
other place that's got
Good point.
crazy regulation?
Yeah. Anyway, here's something that I don't. I mean, I was believe it. What was that? Not what? It was something shell for Windows 7. Admitted
Classic shell
classic shell.
was for Windows 10. Yeah.
Oh, you used it on 7 to make it
Well,
look like XP, and
oh,
then
okay. Well, yeah. It
yeah,
was
it's
more
all
popular come Windows. It really blew up when Windows 8 came out because it gave you back the traditional
yeah,
start menu that Windows 8 got rid
correct.
of. And then when Windows 10 came out, it kind of lost its umph because Windows 10's start was very similar
Normal.
to
Yeah.
7 and everything else.
So Stardock has a new app for Windows 11 that brings back the classic appearance of the Windows Start menu. This first beta is designed to regain some of the lost functionality in the current Windows 11 Start menu. We have a lot of exciting new features planned to make the Start menu not just more accessible, but also more useful to companies and power users. That's what they said. Start11, that's what they call it. Start11 includes a configuration UI that will support future Start menu designs, while the previous Start 10 app aimed to bring back the classic Windows 7 Start menu to Windows 10. Start11 will go further in future to add extra features to the Windows 11 Start menu. It is available priced at $4.99 and offers the choice between a Windows 7 style start menu or a more modern one that brings back some of the classic style and features of the start menu. I mean, I think when we went from XP to Windows 10, I used it for a while. But then you realize, come on, you're going to have to get used to the new way that things are going. So might as well just learn how to use the new menu.
Oh, the Windows 10 and the Windows 11 start menus are not that much different from what I've seen.
I don't know. I have not seen 10. I mean 11.
I've seen the screenshots. I mean, it's not that much different.
The only comment I have about that is if something in the OS bugs you, right? Never go and look for how it was in the previous OS or in the previous version of it. Instead, find a way of replacing it with something that has nothing to do with the system itself. So I'll give an example. On Android phones, right? The launcher, the homepage. There's a huge marketplace, right, for different types of these applications. And so, if you're never comfortable with whatever a system brings in, make sure you install something that you like, how it runs, and then it'll run the same way regarding on which version of the phone you're using, right? There are those who mimic the iOS version. There are those who mimic a completely different paradigm. And the same goes for Windows, right? If you're not comfortable with the way the start menu runs, or I don't know, some visual cues that don't work for you, then find some sort of tool. And you're not the only one who's annoyed by it, right? Find a tool, and I would recommend in this particular case find some open source tool, because then you're not tied to any other ecosystem again. Find a tool that does what you want in a way that you can get comfortable with. You're still going to need to adapt a new behavior, then at least make it one that you're comfortable with. I've been using tools, right, that customize my personal experience on any Windows system for years, and I've made myself comfortable with either the less enjoyable OS method, just so I'll know how to deal on a system that's not mine. But on my system, no matter where I go, I can install a set of tools and it works exactly like I want. I use a launcher that's called Find and Run Robot, for example. You can search it. It's from a site named Donation Coders. I've been using it for probably over 15, maybe 20 years. So, and while visually it's not as appealing as most of the newer ones, right? I'm so comfortable with it that I'll keep installing it and I'll keep using it. And it doesn't matter how Windows 10 or how Windows 11 will look like or how Windows 20 will look like. I will have an interface to the system that is familiar to me. So if you hate things changing on you, right? Find a set of tools that you can take with you along the road, and don't fall for the trap of a company like Stardock or any of those that they pry on those who are resistant to change, right? And they say, "Hey, bring me your cash." That's the Stardock. They've been around for a long time. Their products are very interesting in the technology side of it, right? But they are peddlers of grief, right? Their marketing is, "Oh, we know things changed on you. We can take you back," right? But they never take you back. They always introduce so much grief of their own. Their applications are not perfect, right? They crash all the time because they are trying to do something against the grain of the system. And so you get started to use these flawed systems that you pay for, right? And for what? So there's no nostalgia in the previous version of an OS. There's not really, right? It doesn't matter how much you start saying, "I wish to go back," right, to the old way. It's just because you got used to that. Then get used to something that you control instead of complain about something you can't control, and then you find somebody who tries to sell you dream. Right? That's my 2 cents about Stardock. They've been earing me for years because they are far from perfect, and no solution they provide is better than you finding just a completely different solution. Exit the paradigm. You don't need to be a prisoner of that anymore.
That's your 2 cents.
Yeah.
You put
More
10,
like like 10,000, but yeah.
You put 10 cents in there though, so let me give you change.
How long were you waiting to do that?
Oh, a long time.
When can I use that button?
And Gene is saying, he said that he has and he still uses the classic shell. Well, if you're used to it and you keep using the same thing, it's fine.
But you see, classic shell, if I recall correctly, that's a free software.
Yeah, you could pay for it. I don't remember what was the deal, but yeah, it was free.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I am all for stuff like that because that means, right, that you're tying yourself to something, to a community, usually, right? When you're just paying to a company, then it all depends on the bottom line for them.
Yeah.
So when interest starts to wane, they'll stop supporting that.
Right.
Right? With a community, as long as the community is live, right?
It's alive.
As long as you have 30 people in the community, right? There's still going to be people who are, pushing on and making and creating and using. So I'm okay with free on stuff like this because it is flawed whether you pay for it or not. So at least you're not hurting because you did that.
Yeah.
And if you do pay for something like that, then you probably get the attention of the developer, and you donate something. That's mine. That's my thought process about it.
Yeah.
Because it's going to change again when Windows.
Yeah, it always that's the problem. It always changes.
Remember that when Windows 10 came out, Microsoft came out with a very bold and stupid statement. And I'm sorry, there's no other way of saying that Windows 10 is going to be the last Windows version, right? And then they came up with all of those H something releases, feature releases, and everything broke again, exactly as with a new system, right? And finally, somebody said, "Okay, we gotta stop this stupid charade, and it can't be the only, the last version. And when major changes are gonna be needed, then we'll name it as a new version." And finally, we're seeing Windows 11.
Yeah.
They took the path from Apple. Apple went through a very similar thing when they introduced, I think it was Leopard, but OS X, that their 10 iteration, right? And so, yeah, but then again, now it's OS X version something.
Yeah, so they can
Right.
they can just say Windows version
Right.
something.
So now it's Windows 10 version something,
Yeah.
so now it's Windows 11.
Right.
And that's fine. Yeah.
Right.
But it's going to change again. Maybe it'll be a year, maybe it'll be 10 years, but it's going to change again. Right. And so,
Yeah.
especially for the people who are listening to a show, those are people who are interested in some way, right, like us, in their relationship with their computer, in their experience that they have tailored for themselves. So don't neglect, right, this part of, okay, I'll rely completely on the interface. Yeah, learn it, know how to control it, know how to make it your own, but also make sure that you have your set of tools that you use for anything that ears you about the system.
I don't know what you're talking about, but I did not have any relations with my computer. Nick is not laughing.
That's
I'm
way
sorry.
too old.
The nation's 6 biggest
I did have cigars
names,
with my computer, though.
the nation's 6 biggest names in the business, which accounts for about 95% of the market, collectively lost a little over 1.1 million customers during the 3-month stretch ending in June. Talking about TV.
Did they ever take those numbers and put them next to the death rate of COVID?
That's not funny.
Too soon?
Slowing down the first quarter cord-cutting pace of more than 1.5 million, but continuing the bigger picture cord-cutting cadence that's been a problem for the industry since 2014. AT&T led the way with its loss of 443,000 subscribers as its flagship platform DirecTV undergoes the major disruption of changing ownership hands. Although the satellite-based service was bleeding customers well before the sale of DirecTV was even considered. No outfit gained subscribers. That's if that's true, that's amazing. No outfit gained subscribers, though, even including the better established cable television brands like Comcast, Xfinity, and Charter Communications Spectrum. Market research company eMarketing estimates the number of conventional cable customers in the U.S. will continue to slide at least through 2024, when the number of non-pay TV household is likely to eclipse the numbers of pay TV households. As was noted, though, people aren't spending less time in front of the television set. They're just watching in a different way. Streaming is quickly becoming the preferred way of consuming video. Last quarter, streaming services of all likes added on the order of 44.7 million active users subscribers. Yay. Take that number with a grain of salt for a couple of reasons. The biggest of which is it's a worldwide number and not just US figure. The other reason to not read too much into this number is it requires multiple streaming services to fully replace a canceled cable package. Recent data from Parks Association indicates around half the US household that have cut the cord now pay for 4 or more streaming options. Still, in that the United States remains the key market for most of these streaming brands like Disney Plus, Discovery Plus, Pluto TV, and HBO Max, it's difficult to not connect the clear demise of conventional cable television with popularization of streaming alternatives.
I don't think it's streaming, by the way.
You don't think
So I don't think it's because of Netflix or Amazon or whatever that we are seeing the decline. I think it's because actually stuff like Twitch and YouTube and like these alternative content. So it's not that people are replacing the content they get on cable with a different way of getting that same content. I actually think that the numbers are diminishing because people are just changing the way the content they are getting.
They're consuming it in a different way.
No, they're consuming different content.
Yeah, consuming different, right?
Yeah.
So the new generation, and I'm talking about people even younger than Nick, right? Nick is the youngest of us three, and he is no longer a representation of what the new generation is going with as content.
TikTok, stuff like that. That's your content.
TikTok is number one right now. TikTok is the top. I'm not consuming TikTok. I'm guessing Nick isn't consuming TikTok, at least not regularly. Amnon, have you ever seen TikTok content?
No.
Right. So only if somebody sends you a link to something and say, hey, and it might be from TikTok, then you're exposed. But it's a completely different world. Right. And that goes for a lot of other stuff, right? It's not only TikTok. So I'm thinking that the decline is actually because people are pretty fed up with the old content paradigm. It's not just streaming. And so comparing it to streaming is probably not enough.
You look at the same thing too. You've got the generation people. I'm ahead of the curve in terms of my age, but you've got, for example, when my parents got married and moved out of their parents' house, they signed up and got cable day one because that's what you did. But now when 24 to 30-year-olds are moving out, they're not getting cable. So while that's not a lost subscriber, I don't know anybody my age that has cable that is not included, unless it's included in like their apartment rent or something like that. I don't know anybody that's moving out from home or graduating college and moving in somewhere and just going, oh man, you know what I really need? Cable. I don't know. None of my friends have cable. None of them.
Well, they have cable, but for internet, period.
Yeah.
Not cable
Yeah,
TV.
no cable TV. I know one person that has cable TV, and it's because it's included in her rent. Doesn't watch it, but has a Spectrum box.
Oh, interesting.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
so
the,
you'll
yeah. I
get-
mean, why would you? I mean, realistically, why would you want cable?
I mean,
what is there to watch on cable? Seriously.
Yeah.
The content is dwindling at the only thing holding people on to cable is sports. That's it. Now you can say, okay, well, there's also like the HGTVs and Food Networks and stuff like that, but that's much more for the older generation. Younger people, the only reason if they have a cable subscription is likely for sports, Fox Sports, ESPN, stuff like that.
And
but that's your minority because a lot of that stuff can be streamed online.
Exactly. So it's mainly if they're uncomfortable with getting it from an unreputable source, because that's also possible very easily, surprisingly easily. And they do, and I can say for sure I've seen it. I thought my kid isn't technical at all, right? And would need me for stuff like that. He finds it, right? So even the non-technical people, they can get to the content.
The thing here that I was reading and I said, oh, it is amazing that they're saying it requires multiple streaming services to fully replace a canceled cable package. Who would want to completely replace their cable? I mean, who is using the complete cable package?
Exactly.
You know, I don't know. I'll say it again. When Gal converted us and came here with his cutters and cut the cable off, the TV, the off-the-air TV is doing everything that I would want. Kathy likes to watch Netflix, but we had Netflix before because cable did not have everything that she wanted. We are not paying for any cable replacements, so to speak. Whatever, not everything is available off the air, but it apparently it just turned out that way. It wasn't that important. I don't miss it. We don't miss it. We discovered new stuff. And you're right, Nick. There's a lot of stuff that are for the older generation. And as far as the HD, what do you call it?
Food networks.
Home and Garden.
The more you
call
them lifestyle channels.
Yeah,
lifestyle.
There are a bunch of channels off the air in the sub like 5 and sub 11 that are sort of the same stuff. Emerald is there, and what's her name that went to jail?
Martha Stewart.
Everything is there. See, that's how I remember her. It's very easy to switch to off the air. Now in our area, yeah, I agree. It's different in other areas, and forget about the rest of the stuff that was there, especially when you save so much money. The other day, our friend Marshall, the big kahuna, bought a house in the mountains. And they had to get satellite service or cable. And they weren't getting much out of it and all that. So I said, shoot, I know I can hook you to our server so you can watch the channels from Raleigh. He said, you mean I can watch channel 11, channel 5? I said, I think so. So I talked to Gal, and sure enough, told me how to do it. And Marshall canceled his cable satellite thing, he's watching on our server. Now, sure, if the server goes down, Marshall is screwed and we're screwed. But there are ways to do it. And God, I didn't ask you. I was going to ask you. Since we have the gig, is this something that I should go and change how much each channel, like somebody who's watching from outside, how much bandwidth they get, or it will not make any difference?
I told you I was running. Now I have the 500, but
Yeah.
I was running on 100 symmetrical, right?
Yeah.
And I would have 5 or 6. I would get to 5 streams simultaneously at certain points in the week, and there was
Nothing. Okay,
problem.
good. Because I don't know.
Yeah,
But I want to
I-
go back to something you said, Amnon.
Yes,
You said that you canceled cable and saved a bunch of money. It's
cable
not
TV.
that you couldn't have. It's not
Yeah.
because you couldn't afford paying
no
for cable.
No,
So that's even that's an even bigger point to note. It's not that you couldn't. It's not that you couldn't afford cable.
right.
It's that there really was nothing on cable that was
There
worth
is
paying for.
nothing there.
There's the thing. It's not like, oh man, I'm broke. I got to cut stuff out of my budget.
Yeah.
Let me drop cable. It's that somebody that can afford cable drops it because there's a complete lack of stimulating content.
Absolutely.
That's way
And-
bigger of a problem than the cost.
and
Because realistically, how much was it? $100 a month?
yeah, well, yeah, right around.
You can afford $100 a month, but you're not going to pay $100 a month for garbage.
For
And
garbage.
that's what
And
you
I'm not a
you and Kathy
sports-
determined you wanted to do.
Yeah, and I'm not into sports, so
Yeah.
there
That's an
was
even
nothing.
bigger wake up call than that's a bigger problem than the price, is the fact that somebody that has, I'm going to say discretionary, I'll call it discretionary income, drops it because it's useless. That's not good. That's a serious problem for that industry,
and
especially at your age.
that's what I was going to say. For our age, I mean, I did not enjoy any of the new shows on TV. I mean, some of them, yeah, but now I see them now anyway, off the air. But I also get all these channels that give me all these programs that I enjoyed when I was much, much, much younger. Hazel and Father Knows Best, and a bunch of these that had a message in them that were make you feel good and all that. May not make other people feel good, but I enjoyed it. I enjoy it. I mean, the other day I just stumbled on another channel level sub 11.2, 11.3, this TV, which we never watched. But I was flipping and I saw Elvis. And I remember I could never see an Elvis movie on cable. Here there was one movie after another. And things that I remember when I was a kid at the Y in Jerusalem, sitting there in the auditorium and just jumping. There are things there that play for each person in a different way. But it's much more stimulating. Yeah, I got to say. And
That's the issue right there.
absolutely. So yeah, I mean, is it easy to do? Some of it is easy if you just go certain distance. I mean, cord cutting. If you want to go like sort of like the whole package, whatever you call it, like with Plex and all that, you need the services of somebody like Gal to set it up. And
Remember what Spence told us to do. He bought like
Yeah.
a couple of things, hooked them up. There was no complex configuration, no software setup, no
right, but
So-
Spence is very technical, and he also went ahead and he's paying for 1 or 2 subscriptions because his wife wanted.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is-
He
yeah.
uses Philo. Yeah.
But I'm talking about people that are not technical. You can do it too, if because you want something more stimulating, or because if you're sitting on cable and you're watching mainly the networks, you don't need cable. I don't think there is any place in the area or anywhere that you don't see the main network. I mean, they did a very good job in making sure that the signal is getting everywhere off the air.
Just wait till ATSC 3.0 becomes more widespread and mainstream. It is a far superior transmission
Oh, we
protocol
talked
than
about, yeah.
ATSC 2 or
Yeah.
whatever we're on right now.
So there are many there are many things that you can do to save money if you want to, or to just get more for your money. Because I mean, we watched what 4 or 5 channels that were not the networks. It was ridiculous to pay that money and do anything. So yeah, if you wanted to do something like this, then you can get in touch with Gal, and I'm sure he will fix you up. But wait, if you call now,
Well, actually, I do have a question for Gal. I'm in the. I need to upgrade my little flat, paper-looking HD antenna to something a little bit better. Do you have any recommendations? Because there's lots of junk on Amazon.
Actually, you should ask Amnon.
Yeah,
Amnon has
you should
a bit
ask
of
me
experience.
because I went.
What do you have?
I got now I have the what is it? Something clear stream.
You have a Clearstream antenna?
Yeah.
Did you ever look at Channel Master?
I did not go with the channel master. I went through some of those flat antennas and some of the what do you call it? The one with the dipole and the old nothing worked. And then talking with Sarid, he told me that he's got that one, and I went and looked and I did some research on it, and sure enough, everybody's saying that it's the best antenna. And I called the company, and talked to a technical support guy who brought up and told me how to bring up the screen that will show me what stations I'm going to be getting. And it was a no-brainer. I mean, I got it. It wasn't that expensive. I got it off of eBay, I think, for $40-some.
Is it the 2 or 4 bay one?
The 2 or 4. It's
Bay. There's ones that have 4 bay antennas and one that just is 2 on top of each other.
You mean the round? It's like a figure 8.
Okay, so it's just 2. It's 2 bay.
Yeah. Okay, you call it
Because they
bay.
sell.
And
sell
it has
4
and
bay
it has a dipole across the top.
across the. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a Max 2 or 2 Max, something like this.
Okay.
And put it up on the roof. Some people put it in the attic. I put it on the roof, just like the old time on the chimney. And once I got it positioned right, which took a little bit of work, again, try this, try. It was great. It's working flawlessly, except channel 4 is not coming in all the time because it's where they are. I bought one and put it in the bedroom, right there on a hutch for the TV there, and it works great. And then I realized, oh, I have coax coming all the way from where the TV is, because I was getting the cable into the bedroom. So I changed it, and I connected that to the antenna through a splitter, and I'm using one antenna.
There you go.
So actually, next time you're up here, you may be able to take that other one because I don't use it. It's
Well,
just sitting.
I just ordered the Clearstream 2V,
How much?
$49.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Is it 2V or 2 Max?
Mhm.
I don't know. But it's unbelievable how these antennas, what they're doing. And you really should put it outside. I mean,
I'm gonna try in the attic first, and then
you can.
that doesn't.
Yeah.
So there's only one TV tower here. All of the channels are multiplexed.
Oh,
on
so
one.
that's no big deal at all. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Sarid, I think, has it also in the attic.
Yeah,
It's
and my
not-
panel antenna works fine, but like there's a couple of lower um, power TV stations that are not reliably coming in.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
WRAL's got an affiliate down here, and sometimes I like to watch the 6 o'clock WRAL news,
mhm.
and it's kind of well, I mean, it's
No,
my job is to watch.
you
them.
need to. Yeah, you need to.
So,
You need-
and it's kind of a crapshoot whether I can watch it or not on channel 10 down here, which is
Yeah.
their affiliate.
I mean, I'm seeing stations from Fayetteville, from where's that East Carolina?
Greenville?
Huh?
Oh, ECU?
Yeah, where's that?
Greenville?
Greenville.
WITN?
Yeah. I mean, it's a duplicate. It's a duplicate of
Yeah,
one
it's
of
an
the
NBC
other
affiliate.
stations, so I don't even have it. I don't watch it. But it's amazing. You like it.
My little panel antenna is picking up 55 channels down here. Not
Yeah.
all of them are watchable right now, but they've all been scanned at some
Yeah,
point.
I think we're getting about 60 some, but we end up with about 30 some that are actual
Yeah.
ones that we want to watch.
Yeah. And again, and I don't use it all. I really just use it for the local
Yeah, that's
two
fine.
news
Yeah.
stations here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it
well,
works. It works fine.
We'll see what happens when this antenna comes in.
But yeah, that's the information I got was from Sarid to begin with, and that took me on that path, and we got it.
Cool.
And she's a working. All right. What else? Anything else, guys?
Nada.
Nada. The only thing with well, I mean, you have to do that with any antenna is you have to rescan every so often, which is no big deal. When you have cable, you don't really need to do it. Okay. Well, that was fun. Nick, I'm glad your internet's back.
Yes.
When did you folks leave?
Last night.
They were
Around,
here all week,
So I wasn't around all week.
but you worked.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They work till 9 a.m. So
Well, still.
be convenient.
I thought
Yep.
that
A
was
good time.
nice visit. Yeah.
Yep. So now they're trekking their way through Tropical Storm Henri on their ride back home.
Are we? Yeah, you were.
So you get to track two of your most favorite things in the world: your parents and the storm.
Yeah, I'm not tracking them. They'll figure it out. But I am tracking the storm.
Is anything going to come our way?
No.
You may get some impact.
Rip
from-
currents. That's the
Yeah.
only thing.
All right.
Yipper.
Well, thanks, guys. That was fun. Thanks, Gal. Thanks, Nick. And good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie and Donna, Arlington, Micha, Dina, Eleanor, Sarid. Thanks, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive and update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. And remember, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., Nick is on WAAV in Wilmington. And anywhere in the world, you can just say, talk to your Echo device. They play 980 The Wave.
Also,
Yeah.
now on 107.9 FM.
What does that
In
sound
Wilmington.
familiar? Who's 107?
Well, in Wilmington, it's not. It's now the simulcast of Wave AM.
I'm saying, why does 107? That's
Because there's
not-
probably 107.9 in Raleigh. I don't know.
okay. All right. Yeah. Oh,
So
nice.
980
Yeah.
AM in Wilmington and 107.9 FM in Wilmington.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
That's it. Here comes the beginning of the expansions. Other cities to come soon. Yeah.
Hopefully.
And let's not forget.
Have you started writing your private parts book?
No, I'm not. Haven't made it that far yet, but there'll be plenty of good stories like that.
And Tuesday at 7 p.m., Nick and Brian are doing the Infection podcast on Twitch. So at 7 o'clock, you go to Twitch and you look for Infection Podcast. One word. For gamers. We'll be back next Sunday. See you, everybody. Have a great week.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.